Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel where I bring you development in the energy industry. At the center of world geopolitics, oil is usually not far away. We've all heard about the tension between the US and Venezuela in recent times, which started by the US bombing of boats around the coast of Venezuela, on the ground that the US is waging war against drugs and narcotics that are finding their way from Venezuela into the US. The tension rose to fever heights when Trump announced that the US Special Forces have captured President Maduro and his wife in Caracas after a commando-like operation. Maduro and his wife were taken to New York, where they are now facing drug-related charges. Recall that President Trump began mounting pressure on Venezuela by complaining about narco-terrorists and gangs in Venezuela, but later on, oil entered into the picture.
You remember they took all of our energy rights, they took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back, but they took it. They illegally took it.
Now, Trump's advisor, Stephen Miller, went a step further when he stated on X that American sweat, ingenuity, and toil created the oil industry in Venezuela. It's tyrannical. Expropriation was the largest recorded theft of American wealth and property. Those are very strong words there. Now, it's striking when there are claims that Venezuela took America's oil and that the US wants it back. Now, that claim is what we will examine in this video. Now, the question whether Venezuela actually took or stole American oil, what does the law say about the ownership of oil? Now, under international law, the answer to who owns oil is very clear. Natural resources belong to the states in whose territory they are found. This is the principle of permanent sovereignty over natural resources. It asserts that nations and peoples have the inherent, inalienable rights to control, use and dispose of their own natural wealth like oil, minerals, water, for their own development and well-being. This was clearly set out in UNGA Resolution 1803 of 1962. Foreign oil companies do not own oil in the ground. They operate under licenses, concessions, or other contracts granted by the host state. Now, those contracts create economic or commercial rights and not ownership rights. So, when President Trump says they took our oil, it was probably referring to contractual rights that were extinguished or expropriated. And for this, we will go back into history. And the history would be on how American companies built the Venezuelan oil industry. Now, Western companies began drilling in Venezuela from 1922 after oil was discovered under General Juan Vicente Gomez. Some of these companies include the Royal Dutch Shell, Standard Oil, and Gulf Oil. These companies brought capital, technology, and expertise. They helped build what became one of the world's largest oil industry. Oil revenues transformed Venezuela and made it a regional powerhouse. By 1960, Venezuela was influential enough to co-found the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. But none of these transferred ownership of Venezuelan oil to the US. The state remained the ultimate owner of its resource. Now, going down into 1976, under the presidency of Carlos Andres Perez, Venezuela officially nationalized its oil industry in January 1976. Now, with this move, the country assumed control over its oil under its national oil company, Petróleos de Venezuela, PDVSA. The companies most affected by the takeover were American subsidiaries such as Exxon Corporation, the Gulf Oil Corporation, and the Mobil Oil Corporation, which had invested more than $5 billion in the oil industry at the time. The nationalization was not chaotic or hostile. It was negotiated and foreign companies were compensated, and many stayed on under new contractual arrangements. At the time, this was considered standard practice and entirely lawful. Now, fast forward to 2007, where the situation then slightly changed under President Hugo Chavez. Venezuela restructured major oil projects and demanded state control over strategic assets, especially in the Orinoco Belt. Foreign companies were told to accept minority stakes under PDVSA or leave the country. Some companies accepted, others, including ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips, refused and exited. Now, this is where the relationship truly broke down. The companies that left did not respond with force. They went to international arbitration under ICSID. Now, ICSID is the International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes. It is a World Bank institution usually settling disputes between investors and states based on the ICSID Convention and other bilateral investment treaties. Now, at ICSID, there were a few cases. Now, where the tribunals, for example, ruled that while Venezuela may have taken a decision to nationalize, it also had an obligation to pay compensation. In the case of ExxonMobil and Venezuela, decided in 2014, for example, the tribunal awarded in favor of the oil company $1.6 billion. In the ConocoPhillips against Venezuela case, the tribunal awarded $8.7 billion. Now, since these awards against Venezuela, there have been a series of proceedings challenging the awards and their enforcement across multiple jurisdictions, especially by ConocoPhillips, who largely remains unpaid. Now, in essence, the legal system is working concerning breach of contract and compensation or damages for same, even though ConocoPhillips hasn't fully recovered its compensation. So, the idea that the US companies were simply thrown out with no remedies does not hold up. Yes, these companies may have lost commercial interest or some geological advantage, but it is certainly not about stolen oil. International law does not allow a country to reclaim private investment through blockades or military pressure. Since the capture of Maduro, President Trump has made it very clear that the US will run Venezuela until such a time as it can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. Many have been asking how the US can run another country. Now, Trump has also made it very clear that it is about the oil resources. This is why he said that he will oversee the proceeds from the sale of Venezuelan oil for the benefit of the Venezuelan and American people. He has announced that in the interim, Venezuela has agreed to deliver 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil to the US. In summary, Venezuela did not steal America's oil. It merely exercised its sovereign powers, albeit in breach of contractual obligations, but within a legal framework recognized worldwide. Until next time, I am Babatunde. Kindly share your comments and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.